Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Holowitz, and I want to talk to you about getting your Act database in shape so you can work with it. And what we're working towards is to be able to come into your office on a Monday morning and have your data so that you can find contacts that are important to you. If you don't know who they are, and if they're not categorized by the ID status field, then you can't work with those contacts. So I want to show you something. I have more than 5,000 contacts in this demo database, and a lot of them have an ID status. But one of the things about ACT is you can look up fields and information based on things that are and are not. So I have a lot of things in here that I've filled in the ID status, but on purpose I've left some things blank so I can illustrate how I would deal with it. So right up here on the ID status field, I'm going to right click on that field. Now this is something that you cannot do in the cloud version. You cannot right click in the cloud version to do what I'm about to do. But I'm going to come down and click on Lookup ID Status. Now, when this box pops up, here under the operator, we have a lot of options. And the option I'm going to choose is does not contain data. In other words, it's blank. That field, the ID status, is blank. So I'm looking for all the contacts in my database where the ID status field is blank, and I'm going to click OK. So in this database, there's 1,101 people where the ID status is blank. So we have to work with this. We've got to clean this up, because if you don't know who these people are, what's the point of having these people in ACT? Are they prospects? Are they vendors? Are they clients? Who are they? So one task you really have to take on is cleaning up your data. And what I'm going to do in my next tutorial is show you how to send your information out to a pivot table so that you can work with this. To clean up this data, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this data out to Excel into what's called a pivot table. And using a pivot table will allow me to understand what is in my ACT database. And my focus right now is on the ID status field. So if you look across the top here, we do not see the ID status field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the right mouse button and I'm going to go Customize Columns. This box pops up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on any item over here on the left, and then I'm going to press the letter I to jump down to the first thing in my list that begins with the letter I, which just happens to be the ID status. I'm going to click on this arrow to send just the ID status over, and I'm going to move it up the field. Now I'm going to click OK. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go look up, and I want to look up all the contacts in my database. And there's more than 5,300. Now some the ID status is blank, some it has something in it. So the next step is you'll observe up on my toolbar right up here, there is a little X, that's for Excel. And if I click on this, it's going to take everything I see right here, all these contacts with these headings, and it's going to throw it out to Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to send all these contacts out to Excel, and then behind the scenes, Microsoft Excel will open up. And then once I have Excel open, I am going to create a pivot table. So now that Excel opens, don't be intimidated by the idea of a pivot table, because if you follow my instructions, you'll see it's actually really easy to work with. And this is not a bad thing to do periodically, just to work with your data and understand what's in there. This might be the kind of thing, maybe quarterly you want to do this. You just want to audit your data, get intimate with your data, get to understand your data, because if you do that, it's really important to understand that data. Okay, so I have two screens, and this just opened over on the other screen. So let me bring Excel up. I'm going to maximize it, and you'll notice all the headings across the top are the same as what was in ACT. All those settings now went right over to Excel. So I've in essence exported all this information. Now if for any reason that Excel icon was grayed out or not available, it's because either Excel isn't installed on your computer or you do not have permission to export data. Okay, moving away from that point, I want you to observe, and even if you don't have a lot of time or you're not familiar with Excel, you can still work through this. So right up here, the company field is selected or highlighted. Doesn't really matter, just ignore that. What I want you to do next is go up and click on Insert, go to Pivot Table. Now, when I did that, you'll observe there's all these dancing green ants around all my data. At this point, just trust that all the data in this spreadsheet has been selected. Click OK. Now, what happened is this sheet popped up. Now down here on the bottom are my tabs that tell me which is which. This is the contact list, which I just had, and this is the sheet. Now this part, I remember, really gets confusing if you don't know what to do. It's like, what do you do with this? But it's actually really simple. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drag this box over to the left just a little bit, just to give you a little more room. Now, here's the ID status, and what I'm really trying to study and understand here is how many of each type of contact do I have. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click on ID status, and I'm going to drag this down to rows. And I want you to watch over to the left what happens. So this database right now is limited in what I have in here. We only have clients, new lead, prospect, and Tony as an ID status. But the question becomes, how many of each? I'm going to go back to ID status, and this time I'm going to drag it down to values. And when I do that, it gives me a count of all the people in my database right there. So this is a quick study. I have 254 clients, 238 new leads, and so on. But the real key is this, the blanks. The blanks are this number minus this number. If you add all those together, those are all the blanks. So what a pivot table does is it allows me to quickly shoot out my information so I can see what it looks like so I can work with it. If this box goes away because you clicked away, just click back in this box and you'll bring it right back. Now, pivot tables are something that are interesting to work with. I'm not going to spend any more time on this, except to say now you have an understanding of who is in or what's in the ID status and what the counts are. This will help you understand how much time it's going to take to work with these contacts. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Holowitz. Thank you very much. Have a great day.